Resistance training improves strength and power through enhancing skeletal muscle contractile capacity, whereas aerobic endurance exercises improve oxygen delivery to the muscles and their ability to extract oxygen from the blood. Many athletes and gym goers perform strength, power, and endurance training in varying amounts. The combination of aerobic and strength exercises during the same session or training period is known as concurrent training. This type of training has been flagged as a potential issue as strength performance may be impaired when an aerobic session is performed beforehand. This is due to residual fatigue from the aerobic session, as you would start your strength session without adequate rest or recovery, in turn decreasing your ability to develop force and lift the same training volume during the strength session compared to aerobic exercise was not completed beforehand. Therefore, the reduction in training stimulus from the reduced lifting volume can potentially interfere with maximal strength and hypertrophy development. This is known as the acute interference effect. Therefore, it may be necessary to preserve the load volume of strength exercise during concurrent training to help avoid or mitigate against the acute interference effect. The article Concurrent Training and the Acute Interference Effect on Strength, Reviewing the Relevant Variables, by Valéria and colleagues, provides us with information on how to manipulate an acute aerobic session followed by a strength session to minimize the impairment of strength performance. This presentation, brought to you by Talking Sports Science, will be a summary of their 6 key considerations. Consideration 1. Aerobic exercise intensity. When compared with moderate intensity continuous exercise, also known as steady state exercise, high intensity interval training using short efforts, less than 1 minute, or long efforts above 1 minute, results in more pronounced negative effects on strength endurance exercise, but not in maximum strength. The term strength endurance used here refers to the maximal number of repetitions performed at 80% of 1 repetition maximum. Moving on to consideration 2, aerobic exercise mode. When comparing running and cycling, they differ biomechanically and physiologically. Therefore, it is no surprise the aerobic exercise mode selected can alter the magnitude of negative interference on strength performance. From the review, Valéria and colleagues concluded that cycling results in more negative effects on strength endurance performance than running. Consideration 3. Recovery. It is possible the interference effect is dependent on the duration of recovery between the aerobic and strength exercises performed. Generally, after a period of 4 to 8 hours of recovery between aerobic and strength exercises, strength endurance performance is not affected. Consideration 4. Muscle groups. Reduction in strength endurance performance is located only in the muscle groups involved in both exercises. Therefore, aerobic exercise does not affect subsequent strength performance when aerobic and strength exercises are performed by different muscle groups. Consideration 5. Running volume. A negative association between strength, performance and running exercise duration has been found, whereby greater strength reductions are seen after more prolonged running distances or time. It was concluded that low volume running does not diminish strength endurance, whereas higher volumes generate impairment. Moving on to the 6th and final consideration, ergogenic aids. To minimize the acute interference effects, different ergogenic aids have been investigated with varying outcomes. Creatine and capsaicin analog supplementation can be used to help mitigate against the negative effect on strength endurance performance when aerobic exercise has been performed beforehand. Whereas caffeine, carbohydrate and beta-alanine are not able to eliminate or attenuate the effects of acute interference. And that concludes the 6 key things to consider when trying to minimise the impairment of strength when aerobic exercise is planned before a strength training session. Thanks for listening, folks. See you next time.